Imagine undergoing a major surgery almost every 7 years. Liver transplant? Check. Kidney transplant? Check. Open heart surgery? Double check.
Everything I accomplish, I do for my liver transplant donor, the little kid that ultimately passed away. I'll never forget the sacrifice of life that the family made to have me continue living.
That's Rob Russell, a liver and kidney transplant recipient who's overcome a stroke, open heart surgeries, and more. I'm Sarah Jane Castro, Senior Director of Marketing and Communications for the National Kidney Foundation of Illinois, and your host for this edition of The Journey Continues. Rob, let's start at the beginning. You had a liver transplant at a very early age. What led to that?
So I was diagnosed with biliary atresia at a little before 18 months old. I got jaundice, and apparently my liver stopped draining bile, essentially. My parents obviously freaked out, called the paramedics or whatever to come and check on me, and found out that my liver was ultimately failing. So at that time, I lived in Sacramento, which is like an hour and a half, maybe two, away from San Francisco, UCSF. Or I went to UC Davis first. And then from there, that's when I got the actual diagnosis that I'm going to need a liver transplant. And then got enrolled or whatever, transferred over to University of California, San Francisco, like I said, about 2 hours away. I don't recall how long I was on the list because I was so young. And then, got the liver transplanted in November of 1990. And I was born in May of 1989. So about 18 months old, this all started.
A very eventful first 18 months for your family.
Yep.
I had no idea jaundice could lead to a liver failing. I thought it was just, you set your baby in the windowsill, get them a little sun, and they're good to go. I had no idea. So, wow, I'm learning here. What, if anything, do you and your family know about that liver donor?
Not very much. It pains me to this day to not know more. My dad has done some research. We've exhausted a lot of avenues through living donor or donor programs. Not so much, if any, success. But my dad did do research a couple years back, and he searched the obituaries for kids. Apparently, my liver was transplanted from a 2-year-old that ended up drowning in a swimming pool down in Southern California. And he narrowed it down to 3 potential candidates that essentially were young kids that passed away during that time period. We haven't reached out to any of the families and stuff like that, but I would like to. I would like to know who they are deep down inside.
Yeah, that had to be tough for them to make that decision, but I'm glad that they did when in the face of huge loss to decide to donate their child's organs.
Yep.
How did that first transplant affect your childhood going forward?
So I'm a big sports guy. Love watching sports, playing sports. Obviously, football is more so America's sport these days. So I remember back in late middle school, early high school, coming to my parents and saying like, oh, like I want to play football. They shot that down faster than I could get it out of my mouth. They're like, absolutely not. You can't play tackle football with the liver transplant. So I had an alternative. I said, well, what about kicker? They don't really get hit that much or punter or whatever. And they still, they weren't forward. They were not buying what I was selling. So, it affected me that way. But as far as like a normal childhood, I don't know the exact age gap for childhood, but I know that it scared me into not drinking alcohol. I did not have my first alcohol beverage until I was 19 years old because I was terrified that if I had alcohol at any point that I was going to die. That's what was driven into me.
Oh gosh. Yeah, that would certainly deter you from drinking.
Yeah. So I mean, and don't get me wrong, I was very apprehensive the first time I even tried it at 19. I was like, "Oh, how is this going to go?" Like and it was a small one. It like wasn't a full beer or anything, but Yeah, so it affected me in the fear of consuming alcohol.
Did you run into any health issues in your recovery? Any sort of side effects from the medications or anything?
I was on cyclosporin, which is the anti-rejection medication for the liver. So over the course of my younger years, it affected my kidney, and it eventually started slowly shutting down my kidney. And in 2011, I needed a kidney transplant. But I mean, it was a long ongoing process. I remember first learning that I would essentially need a kidney transplant, I want to say at maybe 9 or 10 years old or so. So the repercussions of the liver transplant ultimately affected my kidney and caused me to have a kidney transplant in 2011.
How did you feel when you were a young kid learning you might need another transplant? Did that have any impact on you at that time?
No, not really. I'm very positive and outgoing, and I, try my best to surround myself with positive people and positive influences. Then again, I'm like 9, 10 years old. So like, as a kid, you're just, okay, like you're just shrugging it off pretty much. I just went on with life, and I was like, you know what? When we get to that point, we'll cross it. Hopefully I make it through, but we'll cross it when it comes. I'm not going to dwell on it and worry about it, in the years leading up.
That sounds like a great attitude to take. Kids are very good at living in the moment, so
Yep.
I'm sure that was helpful.
I was an avid golfer too, so I kept my mind free golfing. That was the sport that I went instead of football. Grew up playing baseball, but I golfed a whole lot, and that kept my mind free and clear of what was to come.
That sounds like a good distraction,
Mhm.
and also a low contact sport, so kept your parents happy, I'm sure.
Yep.
So when you eventually did get that kidney transplant, how did you find your donor?
The donation process was at first a bit of a hassle. My brother wanted to test, and he ended up being too young of age. I think you got to be 18 or so, and he was 16. My grandma wanted to test on my mom's side, and she was too old. My mom got tested and wasn't a match. So then ultimately, before I had to maybe possibly venture out and ask friends or distant relatives, I should say, my dad was, my last hope to keep it within the inner circle. And he tested, but because I had blood transfusion that stemmed from the liver transplant at a young age, that altered my blood type. So they were still concerned that the kidney would maybe fail because we didn't exactly have the same blood type still.
Oh, interesting. I did not know that a transfusion could have that effect.
That's what was made to my knowledge, at least.
So they ended up moving forward with your dad as your donor then.
Yeah, yep. He tested, passed all the tests. He was a former military, so he was in great shape. So he ended up being a living donor. And then I found out right around the transplant date in November of 21, November 9th, 2021, that the average life of a living donor kidney is 20 years. And this November will be 14. So essentially, I'm looking at probably another kidney transplant here within the next 5 to 10 years, roughly.
I have met some recipients who received living donations from family members who have been living with their kidneys for like 30, 40 years. So it's possible it could go longer than that. I don't think that's common, but it's certainly possible. So we'll keep our fingers crossed that that'll be the case for your kidney.
Yeah, well, I did do it on purpose, obviously, but when I was a student at the University of Florida, I didn't take the best care of myself. I slacked on the medicine. I never got dehydrated, but I didn't hydrate myself enough with water. So ultimately, during my 2 college years at the University of Florida, I essentially lost 20% kidney function. And that was like 2017. So within 6 years, I'm already down 20%. So live and learn, I take care of it nowadays. So I know you can't recoup that back, but lesson learned.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm sure it's hard as a young person to take all of that so seriously and be as dedicated to taking your medication and following the diet plan and the drinking of the water and all that when you just want to be a normal young person. You want to be a kid.
Yep, yep.
As a father yourself now, does your dad's gift have a different impact than it did when you first received his kidney?
For sure. I mean, I'm first off thankful that I'm here, not just through the kidney, but through the liver too. And like you mentioned in the intro too, the two open heart surgeries, all of it ties into, it definitely has opened up my eyes to a new meaning of life and how precious this gift of life, of what it's called, is. I try my best to instill in my daughter that you can't take this for granted. Like, don't rush your life, but you just never know what could happen, right? And I've been given multiple chances at life. So it has opened up my eyes and it's presented me a whole new view of life that I never had as a kid, teen, all that, like through the early or my 20s, I should say.
It definitely sounds like a perspective change happens once you have children of your own, see things from a different lens.
Yep, for sure.
How is your dad's health now? I think you said 14 years post-donation.
Yep. Probably about 13 and a half now, but he's doing super great. I mean, he gets regular checkups. I think his kidney doctor has him come in every 6 months, if I'm not mistaken, but there's been no problems with him living off one kidney. Going back to the surgery though, I guess they send donors to a different floor than the recipients. Mm-hmm. So I didn't know this. So when I finally woke up from, post kidney transplant surgery, I'm like, where's dad? Where's dad? Oh, he's on a different floor. And we had a friendly competition going on between us as to who's getting up, walking around first, who's eating hard food first. Like the very next day after surgery, I remember eating Subway. And my brother, bless his soul, he's running between both the floors, checking in on myself and my dad. And he went up and told my dad, Rob's eating Subway? And my dad got, like I said, not really mad, but like jokingly mad. And he was like, what? I'm up here, snacking on Jell-O and applesauce. I need some hard food. So it was a good joking time between him and I, even though we were on different floors.
I'm glad you both felt good enough to have like a little healthy competition right out of the surgery.
That's what makes the tough times go, pass by too. You got to put a positive spin on it.
Absolutely. What other health challenges have you experienced since that transplant?
As you mentioned, I've had the 2 open heart surgeries in 2021 and now in December of 2024 that I'm still recovering from to this day. I'm still in occupational therapy. I graduated actually 2 weeks ago from physical therapy, so no more physical therapy, yay. I don't necessarily know. To this day, it has not been provided to me a clear reason as to what caused this. In 2021, my aortic root was 3 times the normal size of a normal person's aortic root. And then middle of last year, 2024, going on a few minor hikes in Yosemite with my daughter that I've done before, I noticed I was way out of breath, but pretty much out of shape, even though I was not out of shape. But I noticed something was wrong. And turns out my valve was leaking blood into my heart, which in turn was making me wear down and get out of breath more frequently than others.
Wow, that's scary.
Yeah, I just had my valve replaced in December of 24.
You mentioned when we talked earlier, you also had a stroke.
Yep.
Did they give you any indication of what caused that?
To answer your question, no. I did have a seizure and I had a major stroke that completely shut down the left side of my body. I mean, I remember eventually coming to and not even being able to lift my left arm or left leg up off the bed even a couple of inches.
Wow.
It still is frustrating to this day not having the reason as to what caused that, especially when it didn't happen the first time, in 2021. So, I mean, again, things happen. I'm just grateful to be here though, ultimately.
How have these health challenges limited you? You mentioned hiking with your daughter and being slowed down a little bit. Have they limited you in any other ways?
Yes. To this day, I'm still not technically cleared to drive, which is beyond frustrating. So this past weekend was my weekend with my daughter, And she keeps bugging me. She's like, Dad, are you like cleared to drive yet? And I'm in Northern California. It was 77 yesterday. So we took a walk, maybe a mile and a half over to what's called Flat Rock Park. And there's like a big swimming hole and stuff like that. And she was like, oh, I wish we can go swimming or drive to the river. So it's like, it's eating her too, that I'm not able to drive her and we're not able to go places or do the things that we normally do.
What about with work? Have you been limited there, or are you kind of able to do what you love doing?
I'm a substitute teacher. There's been no limits as to that end. I do NASCAR videography part-time. And even though I've graduated from PT, I'm still not able to run fully yet. Like I said, we just went to the park yesterday. This girl loves to play tag. And I'm like, clearly you're faster than me right now. I can't fully run. So you have to like hop on one leg or something to give me an advantage a little bit. Other than that, ultimately it's been a frustrating but positive experience because I'm here. I'm still being able to be that father figure for her.
What do you think has kept you positive over the years?
Ever since 2016, it has for sure 1000% been my daughter. I grew up a big Florida Gators fan. So getting into and graduating from the University of Florida, my dream school, that has kept me going. I have my degree actually hanging on the wall. I don't do these things just for me, just for my daughter. Everything I accomplish, I do for my liver transplant donor, the little kid that ultimately passed away. All of this is dedicated to that family and to that kid as well. I'll never forget the sacrifice of life, that the family made to have me continue living. It's been a dream come true. I got into NASCAR videography because I reached out to a buddy of mine that owns his own team. So you got to take initiative. You got to be proactive. Nothing's going to come to you. You got to, if you want it, you got to go after it and get it. And that's essentially my mindset through life too.
If you could speak to your liver donor's family, let's say they decide, yeah, we're ready to talk to you, what would you say to them?
First off, I can't say enough thank yous. I think I would interrupt my sentences and just throw in a thank you. I would just tell them, pretty much what I just said, like, because of you and your choice to ultimately donate your kid's organs, this is for you. I don't have like such a big, huge, glamorous lifestyle, but I'm doing what I can. But all of this is partly dedicated and partly, or ultimately because of you, I should say. Because without that choice you made back in 1990, none of this would have been possible. None of it. Not me being a father, dream school, NASCAR videography, nothing.
I'm sure that would mean a lot to them to hear what an impact that decision made.
Yeah. I would love to make a copy of my degree and go put it on their child's tombstone because, again, this isn't just me graduating with a bachelor's degree in telecommunications. This is for you. Like, this is yours because you made this possible.
I'm sure that would be really special for them to hear. What advice do you have for other young people who have experienced pretty big health challenges that maybe their peers haven't?
I know it seems like you might be down in the mud, but just keep going. You just never know with all the advancements in the way the medical field is nowadays and the technology in the medical field. You just never know what could happen. I mean, after this last heart surgery, I was in a coma for 6 days. People honestly thought I was going to die. But I mean, here I am getting my functionality back, more so on my left side. I mean, I remember when like I said, I couldn't lift my arm up and now I can, lift it up over my head. Like, it's amazing when you put your mentality to it, to the I can do it attitude, what you're able to accomplish. So just keep pushing through. It'll get tough. It'll feel like you're down, nowhere to go. Just don't give up hope. Don't give up dreaming of getting back to where you were before surgery or before the health issues.
I love that. And speaking of dreaming ahead, what are you looking forward to most in your future?
Honestly, I'm planning on applying to nursing school here at the junior college. It's one of the better nursing programs in all of Northern California. So the application process starts October 1st. It's circled on my calendar already. And next Monday actually is an info session. So I'm planning on going, talking to a lot of the faculty, the counselors, and all that stuff. I already reached out to one of the people within the program, I think in the admissions department, and let them know, like, hey, I've had a lot of health issues. I now want to learn more about the human body and what goes into recovery. I joke around that I could probably start my own IV. I could do my own blood pressures. I feel like I have a foot in the door, per se, already into the medical field with everything I've been through. So I'm really looking forward to that, and, still focusing on substitute teaching if I can. I mean, I have 50-50 custody with my daughter, so there are days where I don't get her. And on those days, substitute teaching, because teaching, you're giving back. And that's a big thing that I pride myself on is giving back in any way, shape, or form. And educating, guiding the youth is a big step in giving back.
You're very comfortable in a medical setting already, so nursing school sounds like a good step.
Yep. I'm looking forward to it. And like I said, expanding my horizons, maybe getting a better understanding of what I've been through. I kind of talked about with my doctors, like, how everything is related to the heart, because this last heart surgery, I guess, was the bypass part of it, is super tough on the kidneys. And I remember going into surgery, my surgeon saying, Rob, you're looking at maybe 50-50 odds of the kidney making it through. So there was real concern that I was going to wake up from this previous surgery needing a kidney transplant.
That certainly wouldn't be the outcome we hoped for. I'm glad that was not the case.
Yeah, me too. I mean, that was the last thing you probably, or anybody would need is, hey, open heart surgery. Now we got to get you in for a kidney transplant within like next month.
Oh gosh, yeah, that'd be real hard on your body.
Yep.
No time to recover.
Nope.
What do you want your daughter to take away from all of your experiences?
Pretty much the same thing that I would tell anybody that's going through this. She just turned 9 a couple months ago, so she doesn't have a full understanding of what all I've been through yet. But I know the knowledge will come the older she gets. But just fight on. Again, you may be knocked down. You may not know where to go, but it all starts somewhere with you. You have to make the move sometimes. Nothing's going to come to you. Set your mind to it. Do it. Fight through whatever I mean, we all go through obstacles in life, financial, health. So no matter what it is, there is a solution to it, I should say. No matter how bad you're down, fight on and fight through it and find a way.
That sounds like good fatherly advice for any young child. Well, Rob, thank you so much. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners?
I will say I do have dreams as well of being a motivational speaker in the future, kind of branching off what I just said about fighting on or finding an avenue to go. Not sure, other than Googling it, where to go to get into motivational speaking. And I'm also in the process of writing a book detailing everything I've been through, all the things that I've accomplished and all my rough patches in life, and going for the NASCAR videography, like going after what you want and putting your mindset to it and achieving something that you truly love, even if it's a part-time thing, a minimal thing, that lasts maybe 2-3 months, going after what you want.
That's wonderful. Well, I can't wait to read the book when it comes out.
I'm hoping soon.
Thanks to our guest, Rob Russell, for sharing his powerful story of perseverance and positivity with us. If you'd like to learn more about organ or tissue donation or kidney transplantation, visit the National Kidney Foundation of Illinois website at nkfi.org. I'm Sarah Jane Castro, and this is The Journey Continues. Prevention is a key part of our mission at NKFI. That's why at the end of each episode, we offer a health tip.
Here's today's prevention tip on diabetes. Diabetes is a chronic disease that occurs when your blood sugar or glucose levels are too high. Your care team can determine if you're a diabetic by looking at your A1C, a test that examines your blood glucose levels over the previous few months. Diabetes is caused by the pancreas not producing enough insulin or the body not using insulin properly. If left untreated, it can lead to blindness, heart disease, nerve damage, kidney failure, and more. About half of people living with diabetes develop kidney disease. It's important to manage your diabetes by taking your medications as prescribed, checking your blood sugar as directed, and getting your kidneys checked regularly. If you are pre-diabetic, work with a dietitian to help you lower your A1C.